Hello, hi, and welcome back for another episode of Craven Some Raven. And in this episode, I'm just going to go over some names that kept coming up in minicamp. People were talking about getting hyped up about these players. So I'm just going to kind of go into them, talk about them, my opinions, my thoughts. Really nothing important. But you know what? If you want to listen, go ahead. Go on and do it. But first, I have to take care of some business because I have a sponsor. So, today's episode is brought to you by Isis Coffee. So bomb, it'll blow your mind. Located in the heart of downtown Chirac, that's Chicago, people, you can try one of their awesome 72 classic flavors, such as Milk White Infidel or Koran Cocoa, which features hints of coriander for that extra hint of spice. Or go bolder with their Death by Fire iced coffee, which has cayenne and mustard gas to give that ice some much needed heat. Isis Coffee, so good you'll think you died and went to heaven to have a date with 72 virgins. All right, good stuff there from Isis Coffee down in downtown Chicago. Now that I read that, I hope that didn't come off as pro-ISIS. ISIS blows, okay? I'm not a fan of them. I just think it'd be a funny coffee company. Is ISIS still even a thing? They don't talk about it on the news. I mean, I don't listen to the news, but I don't watch it. I don't watch regular TV, come to think of it, but I don't hear anybody talking about ISIS. Usually it's all over the place. Is it just one of those things where, hey, the American people, they're not scared by ISIS anymore. We got to move on to something else. Move on to like Ebola or something else. I don't know. I just don't know. But it's a real company. Check them out, downtown Chirac. All right, cool. Now that that's over, hopefully I don't get any hate mail, or not really. I don't have enough people who listen. But hopefully a lot of my listeners aren't on their yeehaw shit and get all, he said what about ISIS? God damn it, I'm gonna find this guy. No. I'm not a fan. I just thought it'd be funny. I mean, it's a real sponsor, so yeah, check them out. So, like I said before, I'm gonna be talking about some players who've been making headways and making headlines, as I should say, in the Ravens community, in the NFL. People who are standing out in minicamp. And one of those guys who's getting a lot of buzz right now is Shawn Elliott. Safety, draft pick last year, our 6th-round draft pick out of last year. And he was from Texas, I want to say. He's got the nickname the Joker, although I think it should be Dish Don Elliott, because he'll be cleaning the plates of any offense out there. We'll work on it. We'll work on a good nickname for him. In my nicknames episode, I don't think I had a good one for him either, but maybe I think something along that. Like it's got to be a play on words. Dish Don Elliott, it's almost like Deshaun, but Dish Don, like the soap, and he'll be cleaning the offense. No, all right. Either way, it doesn't matter. Now, in the words of the great Chris Collinsworth, now here's a guy who's got a nose for the football. And I'm not too sure, like just off the top of my head, if he was getting a bunch of buzz last year around this time. I'm just not too sure. But I was buzzing about him. I was a bee, because this dude, he's just a good fucking player. I talked about it a bunch of times, and I thought before we even got Earl Thomas, I thought he was going to come in and be kind of a star for this team, like an unsung hero. And because he's just one of those guys that, I don't know if it's luck or he's just around the football a lot. He's where he needs to be consistently. Most plays, at least. Watching his tape from college that year, I thought he was going to be like 2nd or 3rd round draft pick. People were going to overlook the questions of speed, but it's like you watch the tape and it's like it doesn't matter his speed, because he's getting to the ball. He's where he's supposed to be. And most of the time, it's not where the play was designed, like where he was supposed to be, but he ends up, going off his instincts and getting to where he needs to be, not where he's supposed to be. And I remember, like, in the preseason, he had a few plays, but then he got injured, and I was like, oh, fuck, are you kidding me? I didn't think it was going to take him out for the whole year, but, it did. Um, yeah, he's got a playmaker, you know? Real good playmaker. Dish Shawn Elliott. And so, of course, now he's making a bunch of plays, and so now the hype has turned to him. Like, hey, this guy is fucking good. Like, why aren't we talking about it? It's like, no, I've been saying it. I've been saying it for years. Like a year, or at least thinking it, damn it. But I have talked about him in the past, and I was saying that I think he could be like a sleeper on this team. Sorry, I'm thirsty. It must have been that death by fire iced coffee that ISIS serves. Whew, pretty spicy. With cayenne and mustard gas. Delicious stuff there. So, yeah, Shawn Elliott, I think he's getting the credit he deserves, and obviously he hasn't done it in real game action as of yet, but I don't think this hype is unwarranted. Like, I think it's a very, not understandable, but it makes sense people are hyping him up now because he's good. He's always been good in my eyes. I thought he was a steal in the 6th round. Like, the 6th round? Are you kidding me? That's, especially for a playmaking safety, guy who had, I think in his junior season, the year he came out, something like 9 interceptions. It's like, what? And his whole thing, it was like I said, the questions of his speed. Is he fast enough? And I get that the NFL is a very fast game, but I mean, let's say he ran a 4.6. I don't know what his combine numbers were, but let's say he ran a 4.6, and the fastest safety who went that year ran like a 4.4. So 0.2 seconds. In a 40-yard dash, that's maybe a yard. Like, if you were to do that simulcast that they do where they have all the players running together, that's maybe a yard. Maybe a yard in difference. And if you ask me, I think it's, how well do you know the game? Do you know your keys? Do you know where you're supposed to be? Because if you have like an extra step, that's speed. It doesn't matter. If you can predict where the players are supposed to be, he is a defender. He's got to kind of guess or read his keys to try to identify where the ball is going and then get there. And I think the reason he made so many plays is he just very instinctive. He knows that. His body and brain is connected to what's going on the football field. And so when he sees it go left, he goes left. And so some other players, it's all speed and like their physical abilities. They might not read that key quick enough to where they may be faster, they may be a step faster, but they're 2 steps behind in where they're supposed to be. So it's like, if a step slower, but you're smart enough to gain that step back with your skill, that's what I think kind of Shawn Elliott does. He's just a playmaker, knows where to be. So that's pretty good on Shawn Elliott. Another guy who I've seen getting a lot of buzz recently, and all of this, this could just be the Ravens media just going through a cycle of all these players. They're like, yo, he's looking good, yeah. They're just gonna go to like each position and pick like 2 guys, and like throughout the weeks they're gonna go, this guy's standing out. Now this guy's standing out. Now this guy's standing out. Because the next guy I want to talk about is Jaleel Scott. And in the words of Chris Collinsworth, now here's a guy who I was a huge fan of too coming out. I wanted the Ravens to draft him, and he was one of the guys that the Ravens drafted that I wanted them to draft. That never happens. They got 2 guys last year when they got Lamar Jackson and him, because they were 2 guys that I really wanted the Ravens to draft. And I thought, like a super late round guy in Jaleel Scott, who I thought could come in and potentially be a starter with his size, speed, and just that overall jump ball ability. And last year I think he just got stashed. I don't think he actually got injured. I think it's like, we're just gonna put you on IR. We'll see you next season, buddy. And get better next year. And I was the only catch I even saw or like throw towards him. I was not impressed with. He didn't drop it, but it was a missed ball because he didn't come back to the ball. It was like a hitch route or something, and it didn't look like he was going full effort. It looked like he held up a bit, and I was not a huge fan of that. And I thought that's not what we need. We need someone. He's the jump ball guy, so throw it up to him. But the reason I really liked him is because it's kind of like why I'll say the Ravens are always going to win the Super Bowl, because he went to New Mexico State, and I live in Albuquerque. Now, the school that he went to, it's in Las Cruces, New Mexico, but there's always the huge rivalry game between UNM and NM's New Mexico State. So, state versus university school, it's always a classic. It's like 3 hours away, but everyone drives down or drives up and watch the game. And so the game was at UNM, and I was actually living like right next to the stadium at the time. So we would go to all the games all the time. And I heard about him, I think from the Move the Sticks podcast. Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks, they were talking about him because at the time, Daniel Jeremiah, he was going to be actually calling that game, like for the radio. So he was going to be at that game, so they're talking about this receiver out of NM, New Mexico State. And I haven't seen him play because, there's only the one game that year, and I think that was his only year at New Mexico State. But I went to the game, and I watched this motherfucker just torch the team that I was cheering for. So I was like, God damn it. All right, Ravens better draft him. It's one of those things, if a player does well, it's like, oh, Ravens should draft him, And he was skilled, and he looked like the best player on the field. Like, I know they only threw it to him like a couple times, but each single time it was like, well, he made another fucking play, another huge play. They should just be giving him the ball every freaking down. But yeah, he was a killer. And I guess now in this year's training camp, he's making all sorts of plays, which is amazing. But it's one of those things, kind of like I was saying before, is this just the Ravens going through and hyping up different players? Is it just their way to kind of get fans excited about all these different prospects, even though not all of them are going to make the team? Is he really impressing that much? I guess he caught some touchdowns, which is awesome, and apparently he's performing better than some of the veterans they brought in with what's his name? Michael Floyd. I guess he's outperforming him, and Jordan Lastly, I thought he was going to be the hype kind of guy because he's the wide receiver who knows how to get open. He's someone who is an excellent route runner. It's just his hands. But no one's hyping him up because I guess he keeps dropping it. And Jaleel Scott, he's actually going up and getting it, making those contested catches and catching touchdowns, doing some excellent stuff that really catches the eyes of the media. So they start talking about him. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really happy he's kind of coming into his own. It'd be nice to see him get on the field and actually play, and more specifically have some success. I don't want him to get on the field and then not really do anything. And especially, it's good that he's coming in and having some great plays because Miles Boykin, I think, was injured, and also who else? And Marquise Brown, obviously, still not available. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear that barking. My neighbor got home, and that motherfucking dog just, whenever he leaves, instantly it's like bark, 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 bark. And I think he just moved his dog's cage like right next to the wall, because all of a sudden I hear just like obviously the dog's trying to get out. This is why I don't have a dog, because I live in an apartment and I can't let the dog, roam around. Because when I'm working, I'm gone for like 10 hours a day, and then even when I'm here, it's like I just want to sit down and chill. Won't really have time to play with the dog. Too much responsibility. Either way, that has nothing to do with this. But let me see here. Another player who is getting some hype, is Chris Board, the undrafted linebacker who was who made the team as an undrafted rookie free agent last year. And apparently he's coming in and actually splitting time with Kenny Young. kind of doing what Kenny Young and Peanut were doing last year. Going to be splitting time with the first team. And I think it's great. We need that rotation. I mean, I think we do need another guy just for depth. But if they want to roll in the season with 3 inside linebackers, I'd be totally fine with that. In a pinch, I think it'd be fine to bring in a Shawn Elliott or a Tony Jefferson, bring him down and put Deshaun up top, or Anthony Levine. These nickel kind of safeties. So that way, they're basically, because what they do is kind of what an inside linebacker does. They just do it a little bit deeper. So, put them a little bit closer to the line and let them do what they do best. But apparently this guy's playing real well. He's fast and feisty. Double F out there. I call him the Plank. If he's going to be on the field a lot, he needs a nickname. I mean, he is Chris Board. So like the Plank board, I don't know. Like a wood board. Like, should we just call him Yawn? Just yawn every time he comes on the field because I'm bored? Either way, well, we'll work on this. We'll work on that nickname. I guess he's just doing real well. I'm happy to hear that. There's a reason he made the team last year. So it shouldn't be a surprise. But they obviously had enough confidence in him to not bring in any sort of veteran inside linebackers. So just kind of roll with these 3 and maybe hope that one of these other undrafted rookies maybe makes a name for himself and makes the team, or just use the safeties, like I said. So another player who's been getting a lot of hype is Mark Andrews. And he obviously had a very good rookie season, had a great connection with Lamar Jackson. And that's something you need, a good tight end who can block and catch. I don't think he's the best blocker, but he seemed to be really good at finding the zone and just standing open. And him and Lamar had a great report, and that's what we need. I think with Hayden coming back, not injured, that's going to help. I think he'll pick up where he left off and improve from that point. I think he's a little bit faster and a little bit better with his hands. I just think he was slower, so he wasn't as good as getting open. And maybe that's just not his forte. He's just one of those get up and contested catch kind of guy. But with Mark Andrews, he already did that. He had the rookie success, and so it's only fitting that, like, hey, he needs to build on it, get better. And now that he knows that he is going to be a starter, or one of the starters, because I think all 3 of our tight ends are starter worthy. He's out there on the practice field making tons of plays. I've been hearing some buzz that, he could be the leader in catches on this team, and that wouldn't surprise me. When it comes to fantasy football, I'm definitely thinking about him as a late round tight end, because all the good guys are going to go way overdrafted when it comes to fantasy. And I'm sure once it gets closer to my fantasy draft, I'm going to go over everything a little bit more. Maybe I'll do that in like the next episode, just do fantasy stuff, because right now we're in the true off season and we need to talk about something. We need some content out there, okay? So maybe I'll do like a new, because I did do Ravens fantasy football players that I would draft. So maybe I'll just do an updated version of that. Maybe after the drafts. So get all those players on my list and kind of go over things and talk about things. But back to Mark Andrews, I think he could be one of the sleeper tight ends in the whole league, and especially he could be the leader on our team. And I think it's going to be a very, very tight end centric offense, or we're going to use the tight ends on almost every play. So it's, are they going to block or are they going to run out for a catch? I think that's why, the versatility of the tight end is so important for Greg Roman and this offense with all these option type plays. I think I think kind of the tight end position and this read option type offense is gonna kind of go hand in hand and just improve our already stellar kind of tight end rotation, just because they're always going to be on the field and they're always going to be making plays. I think they're going to be a good security blanket for Lamar Jackson once the play breaks down and once our O-line decides to stop blocking, which it always happens. There is no perfect offensive line. Ours definitely isn't one. But I think Mark Andrews is going to have a lot of success specifically in this offense, which I think will be pretty cool. And so yeah, he's getting a bunch of hype. It's not as overblown as all the other players, because the other players, it's like their first time getting on the field, so they have to hype him up. But he's just doing what he does, you know. He had the success last year, so they're just gonna kind of like, yeah, well, Mark Andrews is still good. You know, I remember seeing an article on the Ravens website that literally said Mark Andrews, I think it was their final drive, and it was like, Mark Andrews could have a good year. That was the title. Yeah, no shit. He had a good year last year, and it's like he could. Like they didn't even go out on a limb and say Mark Andrews will have a good season this year. They said he could have a great season. Like yeah, so could anybody. Like come on. Like if you're gonna get behind the team, fucking get behind it. You are the Ravens website. Come on, man. Get some oomph behind that statement. You know, get some chowder. I don't know. Can't see my hand, but I'm doing like a, you know, doing like a bear claw. Like, come on. And obviously, everyone's talking about Lamar Jackson, so I'm not really going to go into things too much because I've talked extensively about this. If you want my opinion on it, just listen to like any other episode, basically. I've talked too much about it, and I got to, at some point, take a break with the Lamar Jackson hype. So, everyone's talking about him, obviously. The quarterback, starting quarterback, first-year starter. It makes sense. No wonder. But I guess he's doing well. But I said I wasn't going to talk about it. So, some other players, I guess there's a little bit of buzz about the rookie free agent wide receiver, Antoine Wesley. Is it because it's spelled weird. It's like Antone, but Antone. That doesn't sound right. Doesn't sound like a real name. When he's kind of that tall, skinny, lanky, Bambi-like wide receiver out of Texas Tech. Not fast, but knows how to get open. I remember seeing his highlight tape, at least. You know, not his regular tape, but just his highlight tape. There's a few routes on there where it was like, ooh, put the sauce on him. And I'm in my apartment right now, looking out the window, and there's this guy in a big ass truck trying to navigate his way through the parking lot, and he is having so much trouble. You got it, buddy. Oh, there you go. Made the turn. Just took like a 30-point turn. You got it. Good for you. You must be real professional. Anyways, yeah, so there's some players I'm just hearing a lot of buzz. Oh, and Michael Pierce, but I talked about that last episode. Everyone's talking about him because of his fatness, because of his old big old belly there, the black Santa Claus. So no need to talk about that since we talked about that last week. But there was an article I did see on NFL. I'm gonna pull that up and go to that because I thought it was pretty interesting take. Let me go find it. Let me just pause this real quick. So this article was written by Greg Rosenthal. You know, I don't know. I don't know what I think about him. Sometimes he speaks and it's like, yeah, it's a good point. But other times it's like, I just want to punch you in the face. He's just got one of those faces. But what he did is he did a NFL Divisions power ranking. So the way he has it, I'm just going to read it off and I'll try to go into things a little bit. So with number 1, he has the NFC North. You know, Bears, Vikings, Packers, Lions. I don't know about that. But what's interesting, he's got the AFC North at number 2. So obviously Ravens, Steelers, Browns, Bengals. And it says here, like the NFC North, it's hard to find... Oh, God, I'm going to have to read out loud. Oh, God. It's hard to find a truly lagging in talent here. A team, sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's hard to find a team truly lagging in talent here. The Ravens are undergoing their most dramatic transformation on both sides of the ball in more than a decade. But they have the organizational culture to survive it with flair. Okay, with flair? What, like Ric Flair? Get the fuck out of here. The Steelers and Browns could have the 2 most talented rosters in the entire conference, even if they have vastly different track records over the last decade. Now, the Steelers, no. They do not have one of the most talented rosters. Not anymore. The Browns, I mean, on paper they do. Let's see them do it on the field. At least the Steelers, when they had AB and Le'Veon Bell. They did it on the field. Let's see. The Bengals don't dazzle with their defensive firepower, but yet a new coach, Zach Taylor, inherits a roster without many clear weaknesses. Coming out of this division with a playoff bye is going to be difficult because of its depth. It's true. I thought it's just because I was a Ravens fan that I'm giving all these teams hype. The Browns on paper, winning the Super Bowl. The Steelers, always good. The Ravens just won the division, and I think are going to have the most unique, maybe not most unique, but I think most different offense in the whole league. And their defense is still stellar. Yeah, Steelers always there. The Browns, great on paper. And the Bengals, they still have a great roster. They just changed coaches, really. Now, as much as I don't believe in Andy Dalton, I do believe in A.J. Green. It doesn't matter who's throwing it up, But, so third, he has NFC South, Saints, Falcons, Panthers, Buccaneers. And then NFC West, Rams, Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals. AFC South, Texans, Colts, Titans, Jaguars. AFC West, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders. NFC East, Cowboys, Eagles, Redskins, Giants. And then AFC East, Patriots, Dolphins, Bills, Jets. Now, I don't know why he ranked them this way. I do think the AFC North is one of the tougher divisions, especially in divisions. But you're talking overall, together talent. I think it's toughest. As in, they're going to beat each other up the most. I don't think the NFC North is the toughest. No, not at all. In my opinions, it's probably the AFC West first. Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders. Then I think it goes AFC South, Texans, Colts, Titans, Jaguars. Then maybe NFC West, Rams, Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals. NFC East. I think the AFC North, I think it's just top end talent isn't there as there are in the AFC West. You're telling me so the Ravens and Steelers or the Ravens and Browns or the Steelers and Browns are better than the Chiefs and Chargers, How I think Broncos and Raiders or Broncos and Bengals or Raiders and Bengals. I think I don't know. I just don't understand his list. I'm down with the hype. I'm all about it. I just think it's misguided. I think we do have a good division, but I think it's one of those things where the teams are going to be seen as less good because of their record, because we all play each other. I think these teams all could go 10-6, without a question. I think all the teams in the AFC North have a chance to really go 10-6. I don't see why not. Even though I do think the Bengals may take a step back, but everyone's sleeping on them, so that's the perfect time for them to pounce. They are Tigers, and anyways, so yeah. I just don't think the league is going to view them as that great because they're going to be beating each other up. So the records aren't going to look as good. While maybe they have the talent of a 12-win team, i.e. Ravens. I think they have the talent. Maybe having to play good teams like the Browns and Steelers and Bengals with their miracle throws that they always do each and every fucking year. I think it's going to bring them down a little bit. So, with that being said, I don't really know what else to talk about. At least have something for next year. I'm sure I'll think of something. I always do. Every single time I record one of these, I think of something I should have said or should have talked about. But, I just do this live, just kind of spew out my thoughts on the Ravens. Maybe I have a topic, maybe I don't. Usually I just kind of have one topic and just see where it goes. So, with that being said, I think that's going to do it. If you like this, like it, comment. Or I am a podcast, so I'm on podcast platforms. It's not just on YouTube because I get a lot of views on YouTube, but at the same time, I'm also on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play. So if you want to do things that way, get on there. So that way you can lock your phone, put it in your pocket, listen to some great Ravens content. It kind of rhymes, yeah? Yeah. So I'm just going to leave you with a go, Ravens. Have a good day.